What's up? This is Jacob with Smedding Performance, and today we're going to be building a 1,000 horsepower rated twin turbo dart block based 427 LS. Here's the engine block for this build. It is a LS Next SHP block manufactured by Dart. And this engine block has a ton of upgrades over a factory LS block. The most obvious one is the 6-bolt cylinder head pattern configuration. Factory LS's are a 4-bolt head, and this engine block has 2 extras for extra cylinder head clamping force. The second big upgrade is what's called a 3-galley oil system. And you can tell that by the way it is.
That's pretty neat.
Uno, dos, tres. 3-galley oil systems give an engine block its own dedicated oil circuit just for the crankshaft, connecting rods, and camshaft. A factory LS block is only a 2-galley. It doesn't have this second galley going through the block. And what happens is one of these galleys has to share its oiling with the rotating assembly as well as a lifter bank. So you're splitting your oil right there. To compensate for it, LS pumps have a ton of volume from the factory, whereas Dart now has restricted the volume flow to the lifters and added a 3rd galley so that the crankshaft, connecting rods, and camshaft have their own dedicated oiling circuit. This is far superior and leads to much higher RPM capabilities while still running a wet sump configuration. Third, this block comes with billet steel splayed main caps. And again, you can see these outer bolts go at an angle into the block instead of vertically straight up and down. And that vastly adds in the strength and security of the main cap to the engine block to retain the crankshaft. That's why we use these blocks on anything over 1,000 horsepower. Sure, you can do it with a factory LS block, but when reliability and longevity is the concern, you cannot go wrong with a Dart SHP. This block can easily handle 1,500, 1,700 horsepower before breaking a sweat. So when we run this at about 1,000, it's going to be completely relaxed. The rotating assembly, of course, is our Smedding Performance 1,000 horsepower rated rotating kit. Has one of our 4340 forged 4-inch stroke crankshaft, our power adder H-beam 6125 connecting rod with an ARP 2000 hardware package. These are super nice. I run these in my own engine actually. And our 1,000 horsepower JE piston pack. And what's really nice about these pistons is they have an asymmetrical skirt design. So if you don't know, when the engine is cycling, there's what's called the thrust face and the non-thrust face. And basically that just means that when the engine cycles, one of these skirts of the piston is going to receive more load than the other. So JE makes the loaded face much larger and the unloaded face much narrower to help save weight. Super cool. Second, we have these insanely hardcore 200 thou wall thickness H13 tool steel wrist pins. These are probably good for somewhere around 1,1700 horse, but again, we want to overbuild this package so that the customer never has a reliability issue, never has to worry about it. He can just beat the snot out of it 24/7 and it's going to keep making power. All of our small block Chevys, small block Ford, big Chevy, LS aftermarket block that is, they're going to get this special cam bearing that has a groove cut in the back of it and it has 3 points of entry all the way around. This gives us superior camshaft oiling and will prevent any type of cam bearing failure in the future. So, step 1, we're going to install one of our custom turbo grind hydraulic roller camshafts, and then Shay is going to show you guys how he measures bearing clearance and gaps of piston rings. Then we'll get this short block knocked out. This is one of our turbo camshafts that we are going to start selling, but at the moment they're just custom ordered. It's 243, 248 duration at 50 on a 114 +2 lobe separation angle. And I found that this cam just really gives turbos good response, especially when you're running twins. They light off really well, it carries RPM very well, and it still has really good drivability and street manners.
A good shot of me inserting the shaft.
That's going in the video. You notice he put the camshaft in drive first, and that's because before we put any lubricant on it, we want to check that all the cam bearings are perfectly straight. And so you can see here with very little resistance, the camshaft freely moves in and out of the bearing pack, ensuring that everything is perfectly aligned. Then Shay will come back and lubricate all the journals and final install the cam. Main bearing clearances are checked. We have about 2.5 thou across the board. The thrust is always a little bit looser because there needs to be extra oil allowed to reach the thrust surfaces of the bearing. Next, we've got our Smeding 4340 forged crankshaft, all clean and balanced, ready to go. If you guys want to see how we balance our crankshafts, I'll add a little clicker up here in the corner so you can watch us do that on one of our 632 big block cranks. So this is ready to go. We're going to pop it in, and then we're going to check the reluctor wheel clearance to the crankshaft position sensor. That's important to check in these dart blocks, or any aftermarket block for that matter. At the moment, we are checking thrust bearing clearance, which is the crankshaft's clearance going backwards and forwards in the block. And this car is going to get a 4L80 transmission with a decent converter in it, so we're targeting about 5 to 6 thou clearance to make this thing nice and happy. So we've got that in the block. Now we're going to adjust it out of the block on the cap, and then we can final install the crank and do a final check. With the number 3 main cap and the thrust bearings torqued, we have exactly 5 thou clearance. We're going to go ahead and final install the rest of the main bearings, and this crankshaft is in the motor. Something that we see a lot with these motors is that the press fit for this cam sensor in the block is extremely tight. What you normally need to do is come back with a very small drift and lightly seat the sensor into the block. And then you can get the super tight 20 thou clearance that these engines need to run correctly to have a strong, accurate crank signal. So now the crankshaft is final installed. It is super smooth, even with extremely thick and sticky assembly grease. Next step, we're gonna pop the timing set on the front of the engine, put the front oil pump on, front cover, rear cover, and then we can start checking connecting rod clearance and gapping our piston rings for the application. Crankshaft is installed, camshaft is installed, timing set's installed, oil pump's installed. We are rolling right along with this 427,000 horse LS dart build. I've got the connecting rods and pistons already assembled, and they're just freaking gorgeous. These H-beams are so nice, coupled with a nice polished piston It doesn't get much better than this, folks. Shay's busting off the rod caps. We're gonna check rod bearing clearance next, and then we'll gap the piston rings. The rod bearings have been checked. All of them are within 2.4 to 2.6 thousandths of clearance. Shay did a great video in one of our 632 build series episodes where he goes over exactly how to measure bearing clearance. I'll put another little card up here in the top corner if you want to watch that and learn how we do it. All the rings are gapped for this engine. Due to it being a twin turbo pump gas deal, making about 1,000 horse, we're gonna run the top ring at 28 thou and the second ring at 32 thou. We are running a, let's see if I can find some. We're running a Napier second ring, so it has a little hook on the bottom of it to help with oil control. And we are also running a stainless steel top ring to give us extra reliability with the very high and hot cylinder pressures that this engine's going to make. Whenever you gap piston rings, there's a tiny itty bitty little burr that forms on the edge of the ring. And so we're gonna deburr that edge off with a little diamond file. That way the rings can spin nicely in the piston, smoothly without scratching anything. Once that's done, we'll do a final wash on the cylinder hones, lubricate everything, and this short block is going together. About this motor?
It's okay, you know, it'd be a real shame if it went missing.
Yeah, this thing turned out really cool. I'm really excited about this little combo. Dart block, smetting crank, smetting rods, nice pistons, smetting cam. It's a nice little combo right here. This thing's gonna be perfect for a 1,000 horse, everyday beater, pump gas, twin turbo build. So the short block is fully assembled, final torqued, everything's checked. This thing is ready to rip. Next, we're gonna pop on the head studs and bolt down our beautiful 11 degree CNC ported 6-bolt cylinder heads. These are the cylinder heads that we're going to use for this engine. They are our Smedding Performance 11 degree 260cc fully CNC ported aftermarket 6-bolt head castings. And they are freaking awesome. I run these on my personal engine and they have not skipped a beat. They are assembled with our 700 lift spring pack with titanium retainers. And here you can see those extra bolt provisions to utilize the 6-bolt Dart engine block. Right now we're dynoing a Ford, one of our 427 Windsor packages.
Making 500 horse.
Little street cruiser torque motor. But we got these heads out. We've got our 6-bolt Cometic head gaskets that are going to give us the perfect quench for this combination. And we will get these bolted up next. So we're just doing the final touches on this twin turbo rated 427 LS long block. Those cylinder heads just look awesome on top of this engine block with all the studs coming through. 6-bolt head pattern. Super trick. Link bar lifters, of course. So Shay's just running the final rocker arms down. And this thing is almost done and ready for the high ram. Now that the long block is all finished up, it's time to install the Holley high ram on top to seal off this package. And there it is in all of its pride and glory. It only took Shay 30 times to bolt that down. Well, all right. That about wraps up the 427 twin turbo package with our nice Smedding heads on top of this dart block. This engine is going to go into a 70s El Camino, so it'll be pretty cool to see this thing on the road once he finishes it up and gets all the turbo piping ran and whatnot. Thanks guys for watching this video. Let us know in the comments if there's anything y'all want to see next, and we'll see y'all next time.